Verzeo. Learn here, lead anywhere. Subscribe to our Verzeo channel and tap the bell icon to receive all notifications. Download the Verzeo app and get free content access.
Okay, so it's 6 o'clock, so we are going to start gender neutrality and an exploration of femininity.
Yeah, hi, Ritika. Just if you could give me a minute to just start off, I'll just introduce and also talk about what the significance is. Just if you could just bear a minute with me.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah. First of all, welcome to everybody and all the participants. It is the International Women's Day. That is why we are having these number of sessions that are there right leading up to the March of 8th, which is actually International Women's Day. So every day we've got something here for you. I will not waste much time into what the topic is because you already know about it. But let me just talk about Ritika herself. Um, she is a triple major in literature, psychology, and theatre from Christ University, Bangalore. She has been a trainer and coach since the age of 18, having experience in spoken English and personality development training for corporate employees, students, and self employed professionals. She's an effective communicator who delivers high quality work, and she's actively involved in giving back to the society through various volunteering activities. She's also been an online tutor, content developer, content writer, script editor at multiple points of time. She's also been a campus ambassador at IAMB, and right now she's a personality development coach. Without wasting any time, I would like to hand it over to Ritika. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Pratik, for such kind words. And now, so we are going to start what the topic says, an exploration of femininity and gender neutrality. Now, to understand this topic, we have to understand the basic difference of equality versus equity. Now, this is something which we don't know because we are always driven towards equality, or we always demand equality. But what exactly is equality? That is really problematic. Now, don't chain my legs and call me crippled. To make you understand this, we must understand what is equality. So, equality is achieved by treating everyone the same, regardless of their needs, right? And equity is achieved by treating people differently based on their need factor. Now, going by this definition in a practical approach, um, it seems to me the concept is very problematic because we've been fighting a very wrong battle. We cannot uplift the uplifted and call it equality, right? Women have been deprived of opportunities for many centuries, and even today in the new India, the India 2.0, the plight of rural women more or less remain the same. Now, equality will give you equal platform as shown in the picture. But the question we all must ask is it fair or is it just if you give 10 rupees to a rich man and equally and give 10 rupees to a poor man? Um, what is the value? What is the need of the rich man to get those 10 rupees, right? That is equality. Now, if the already rich man gets 5 rupees and the poor man gets 15 rupees, that's equity because we are giving more to the person who needs it more. Demanding equity will ensure that all needs are met in the society. As many critics have mentioned regarding the period leave debate initiated by Zomato, is an absurd concept, right? Just because men do not menstruate or they do not have periods, do we negate the unbearable pain few women go through during their periods? Just because men can't reproduce, so we take away the maternity benefits to ensure equality, right? So we cannot demand equality when there is no equity, because we can only talk about equality when all individuals are on the same page. But centuries of oppression, centuries of subjugation has made women um, far behind than the men. So how can we actually demand equality when we are not even on the same page, right? We are trying to bridge the gap of centuries old unbending stringent laws for women, um, and all the feminists as well. So first, let us all strive towards equity, to right the wrongs of the past, and then we will talk about equality. So the need of the hour is we shift our focus from equality to equity in order to uplift the marginalized and not uplift the uplifted, right? Okay, now women, we all know they do not receive as much exposure as men in terms of job opportunities, in internships, or even basic social skills like group studying or team projects. Even Indian parents don't allow till a very adult age, right? Till class 11 or 12, we are not allowed to socialize much. Now, given all these circumstances, when parents are not very liberal with girl education as compared to boys, gender bias is so deeply rooted that it never even escapes the interviewer's mind to ask a female candidate about her marital status, which is not really asked to a male candidate, right? And lack of female role models also in an organization makes it very difficult for women to succeed. So first, let us try to be on equal page where um, the parental responsibility is same for girls and boys, where girls are also getting equal exposure, and then we will talk about equal opportunities. Um, we generalize all the women, we generalize all the plight of all women by few exceptions, right? But can we do that? Because few exceptions do not constitute the entire population of the world. Women are still far behind compared to men. So first, let us try acquiring equity in the society, then we will move on to equality. Now, as recent reports say that National Crime Records Bureau, according to recent data states, sexual harassment at workplace has increased, or there is a peak in sexual harassment. Even though people are getting more educated, even though we are saying that India has become 2.0, this is a new India, but still in educated spaces, in professional spaces, women are still sexually harassed. So where is our education going? Also, Me Too in 2017 reported a 54% rise in sexual harassment at workspace. It would be naive to, be in denial in society, that our society is progressing, our society is evolving, and it's changing. Might be true from a scientific lens, or might be true from a pragmatic approach. But if you see it from a humanistic perspective, we are definitely regressing as humans. And hence, don't chain my legs and call me crippled. Don't break my spirit and call me apathetic. Don't make us powerless and then call us voiceless. Give us opportunities, give us equal space and platform. We will show you how it's done. This also reminds me of a book that is more likely an extended essay by Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own, where she talks about how challenging it is for a woman to succeed because we are battling with centuries old rules, right? And also, she talks about how challenging gender norms prevent women from attaining their excellency. Now, all we need is a room of our own to explore femininity and creativity. If the workspace is toxic, or if a woman has to go through unnecessary everyday struggles only on the basis of gender, I repeat, only on the basis of gender, then we will find a lot of women flying high if those things are eliminated. But till then, we have to understand that women come from a very different place and space when it comes to profession, when it comes to industrial work. vis-a-vis when you compare a man's predicament, right? Because from childhood, women are conditioned to believe they are inferior. And when you have that low self-esteem, it becomes very difficult for you to achieve in your life. Now, try to create, that's why I'm saying don't chain us and then call us crippled. Give us opportunities and then we will show how we fly. Okay, now it is very important to combat this challenge that we create an inclusive environment for all the genders to see how everyone is progressing as human beings, not as boys or girls. To overcome these battles, we must try to at least change the thought process of people around us regarding women or change the mentality of society. But that surely will take a very, very long way to go and a long time. So, allow me to list out 5 laws that you must know um, till you change the world. Okay, so sexual harassment of women at workspace or workplace, Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal Act. In 2013, this act was initiated because women still now face a lot of sexual harassment at work, right? And because of this act now, every company should have a well documented mechanism to address complaints about sexual advances or sexual molestation at work. So if you're joining your work, make sure that they have this provision because it is under the constitution that every organization must have this provision. Okay, now this is quite self-explanatory. Maternity Benefit Act 1961. This allows women to take maternity leaves without being discriminated and without losing their job. Now, these are the benefits that are included in that act. 26 weeks of paid maternity leave, 1 month of paid leave for any illness due to pregnancy or miscarriage. So your boss cannot negate the fact that you're not sick because you're not pregnant, right? Okay, now the medical bonus of rupees 2500 to 3500 is compensated, and at the same time um, you will be getting 6 weeks off for your after your delivery, and if you don't get, please take it to the higher authorities. Now, Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act 1970, provision for separate latrines and urinals for female workers existed. Rule number 53 of the Contract Labor Law or the Contract Labor Act states that every office or every organization must ensure women hygiene or female hygiene, and at the same time must ensure that there are separate latrines or separate urinals or washrooms for women. So if you don't get these benefits where you're working, please feel free to talk to the authorities or feel free to file a lawsuit. Okay, now the Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act 1986. This law prevents anyone at workspace from being indecent, derogatory, or even, let's say, denigrating to a woman, which means nobody, and I reiterate, nobody can tarnish your image or your reputation by any means. And if anybody does, then feel free to file a criminal offense or a criminal lawsuit against that person, and the public or company prosecutor will look into the matter. But never ever entertain these things when you're working, because these rights are given by the Constitution of India, and you must respect that, and you must respect yourself as well. Okay. Now, the first step towards gender neutrality is embracing your femininity. I know this is a very different concept because we are brought up by the fact, or by knowing the fact, that femininity is something which is frowned upon, femininity is something which is weak, which makes you very meek. That's why you should not express it openly, right? So the first step towards gender neutrality for me would be embracing femininity. Embrace what's there inside you. In a world where masculinity is respected and femininity is normalized, it takes an enormous amount of strength and confidence for any person, whether a female or a male, to embrace their feminine side. Now, to make you understand this point, I'll tell you a story. I've been grown up in a society where femininity was only celebrated in private. So you could not show your female sexuality, you could not express yourself properly, because that is something which you should save it for your husband, or which only a man inside your room can see, but you cannot be very expressive. And it is always seen as a disturbance or perhaps a threat in a patriarchal society. I have never really understood the reason. So, of course, hence I was conditioned to embrace my masculine side to get attention in the society or to be validated by people. Because femininity is something which nobody really wants to see. So I hated being called girly. I always hung out with dudes in my locality. I projected a very rough and tough exterior or an image, suppressing my emotions, being extremely apathetic, and chasing my dreams like a lunatic, because I knew that to be masculine, you have to earn money. To be masculine, you have to be very rough and tough. I was somewhat tomboyish, if you want me to label it in some way. Now, I was working as a PR, I remember, with an event management company that hosted parties in all luxurious hotels or in all luxury properties. Now, on a New Year's Eve, a guest arrived who happened to be a very successful businessman. The hotel manager said, please handle it. Only you can do it. I won't deny I was flying high like a bird, because I thought my prowess is finally getting acknowledged, until he said, because you're pretty and you can easily act coquettish, which was very, very surprising and demeaning for me. I mean, just because I'm a woman, and mind you, a woman who had repressed her femininity all her life, and now she was suddenly expected to flirt with a guest. That day, I knew the patriarchal world would never see a woman, um, more than what mass media produces, or more than what mass media produced images of womanhood is circulated in the society. Then, if this is the case, then why not embracing femininity, and why not being true to ourselves? Because whatever you do, no matter how masculine you act, people will always objectify you. So why not um, being true to yourself? And that was a realization that I had while I was working with that company. It somehow consumes you, or it consumes you into thinking that how people have fixed ideas of a woman, and it applies to all of them. Our society is designed in such a way that people view all women through the same lens, as if we are not human beings, we are some rare species. Now, where I just lost my chain of thought. Okay, yeah. So this applies to all women, and people do not see women as individuals, but as a community, as if all.
Ritika, we're not able to hear you.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. All right, so I just lost my chain of thought. Now, since it consumes you so much, I have always wondered why exactly a woman's appearance is valued, over her talents, her skills, and thoughts. Because I've been working since the age of 18, and while studying, and also I have done my internships at the age of 16. So I have always been very grown up since childhood. And when I realized that, okay, I'm also being viewed as a woman, or I'm also being viewed as a sexual object who can only act coquettish and handle clients. That was very disturbing and depressing for me. So I decided that time, why not embracing our femininity? Why are we so ashamed of being too emotional? Why are we so ashamed to be what we are? And why do we actually inherit masculine traits to be validated in the society? Because in a patriarchal society, woman will never actually be validated for her talents, right? So the assumption that a woman can easily please a man or easily convince a man is so disturbing. And of course, same applies to how men are viewed too, because we see all men from the same lens, which is also very problematic. Now, since then, I think I have never been ashamed of being an empath or too emotional if a man has to say it, or I've never been afraid to ask for period leaves or menstruation leaves, because that thing is real as my existence. So why should I lie about it? I loved being called girly after that. Then I wholeheartedly uh, enjoyed girl gossips, which again, men back then invented the term um, girl gossips in order to defend or in order to prevent female bonding at work. Now, um, so this is what I realized when I was working that time. I was very young, around 18, but then um, I couldn't be naive, right, about all this. And I'm sure a lot of women must have also faced this. More than their talents and skills, their sexuality was preferred. Okay, now, of course, do you want to know what happened to the manager? So he definitely got me defenestrated for his misconduct. So much for his masculinity, or rather toxic masculinity. You might be thinking I overreacted, but when you are constantly objectified or sexualized in all spheres of life since childhood, you never know when the last straw breaks. So when you call a woman overreacting, try to understand why that person is overreacting, because the reaction comes from many years of repression, right? And that day itself, I just burst out and I just had an emotional breakdown where I refused um, to give up any qualities which my mother has given me, or to refuse imbibing any feminine quality. Now, the bottom line is, ladies, we can be good at our job and be absolutely feminine. There is nothing to be ashamed of for being too loud, for being uh, too emotional, or for just being yourself. So never try um, to become masculine in order to prove worth in the world, because femininity is beautiful and you must embrace it. Now, the media has created a very false consciousness of working women in our society, to be all suited up, to be artful, rough and tough exterior, and most importantly, not a family person. So basically, the media shows a man with, let's say, a vagina, because there is no femininity in that woman, the way media shows career oriented women or projects career oriented women. You can be career oriented and at the same time extremely family person. Show the world a new way of life, of how to work in a feminine atmosphere where there is no mechanical energy or brain power, but womb power, where there is love, where there is support, where there is care, instead of competition, manpower, and no rest whatsoever. Even in studies, they have shown that women-led countries did much better during the pandemic compared to patriarchal governments. A report from Guardian states that how female-led countries coped with the pandemic way better than patriarchal heads of other countries. So this is something we must think about, that um, The world does not really need more masculine women. The world needs more femininity, which has been suppressed or which has been frowned upon for donkey's age. Now, this is the false image I was talking about. The impression we have of a working woman created by the society, when successful women are, conditioned to act masculine in order to um, act bossy, or in order to be the boss you have to be a man. Why to be a man? Why can't we be feminine women and also be CEO? That is something which we must question from time to time. The world surely does not need more masculine women. We need more free women who choose who they want to be, and what they want to do. I also believe that a feminine environment could actually make our society a much better place to live in, where there is love, where there is maternal instincts, and where um, we respect the womb. To achieve gender neutrality, it is very important for us to embrace our feminine side, or to embrace our femininity. It is absolutely not necessary to all the women out here to be idealized as morally pure or obedient. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants an obedient, morally pure girl anymore. How much money are you going to make by being morally pure and pleasing the society? Nobody is going to give you money, right, for that. Now, don't allow cultural conditioning to make you a woman with no voice, or make you a woman who is a man, right? Be yourself. Embrace your femininity. You can be rough and tough. You can be a boss even while being feminine. And same goes applies for all the boys. You do not have to be very masculine in order to prove your worth. You can embrace your feminine side. You can be in touch with your mother's womb and still be a man. Now, watch the movie or listen to a song that you may like, or whatever you feel. Say it, scream, or scream and laugh as loud as you want, Let go of all the labels the society puts you through that will make you more um, pessimistic in world. Because if you try to live your life according to someone else's rules, then it is going to be very problematic for you, and you are going to imbibe pessimism, because you can never be truly happy. You cannot please everyone, right? So it's always better to live life on your own terms. And if you love being feminine, please go for it. There is no shame. And as I mentioned, just live your life on your own terms. We have also, our society has witnessed a demonic projection of men's sexual resentment. By that I mean, strong women or powerful women have always been projected as someone who was evil, or who was demonic, because she resented a man's sexual desires. If you take examples of Sita and her impurity for Ravan's abduction, then Dians and witches in mythology, a mythology of around the world, and which is a concept which is very prevalent in Salim, where witch trials used to take place, right? So people have always tried to put labels on powerful women or opinionated women. They have been called Dians, they have been called witches. Sita had to give Agni Pariksha, or the fire sacrifice, right? So my point is, even Eve in the Bible, I'm sorry for again cutting you there. Eve in the Bible, and also Medusa in Greek mythology, if you read about a little bit of them, you will see how women or powerful women have been um, demonized or have been ostracized because of their strong personality. So my point is, expression of femininity has always led to ostracism in our society, which made us, conditioned to suppress it. Because um, if you're too loud, then you're a witch. If you're too, let's say, emotional, or if you're too naive, then you will be called Eve from the Bible, right? So people have always tried to shun down or try to repress femininity. So why not now trying to promote it, or now trying to experience what female sexuality is? So I was having a tough day at work once. I remember, I believe it happened last year, which led to an emotional breakdown. So I was crying, I was devastated, I was on my knees when a colleague of mine passed a remark saying, "Well, you women cry for everything." Okay, so I know he obviously mansplained it, not explained it, but mansplained it. That's the way a man explains things according to his understanding. So he mansplained it without even knowing my side of the story. So I told him the F word and said, "I wish you weren't so ashamed to shed your tears. The world actually could have been a better place." And then he just left. He got offended. Okay, but please don't try to use the F word on anyone. It's really, really bad and a horrible word, not just semantically, but linguistically as well. Anyway, so what I wanted to tell you guys is that it's time to challenge the norms and be feminine and um, at the same time be the goddamn CEO. Else you'll be living a double life like a schizophrenic patient, behaving like a man at work, all rough and tough, and at the same time being a woman, embracing feminine qualities at home. Right. So I don't think anybody would want to live a double life. So just embrace your femininity and be true to yourself. And to achieve gender neutrality, women, no matter what your sexual orientation is, you must embrace your femininity. We are born with that quality. We are born with female sexuality, right? Even if your sexual orientation is something else, it doesn't matter. But try to be in touch with your roots. Try to be in touch with your inherent qualities and emotions, not be dictated by the world how to feel, how to behave, how to talk. Another point I'd like to make is, um, yes, embracing femininity is very important to achieve gender neutrality. But simultaneously, we must also teach our boys to embrace their feminine qualities and explain how patriarchy is equally impeding them from achieving eudaimonia. Now, eudaimonia, this word I learned while I was studying philosophy. Eudaimonia is a Greek word that can be roughly translated as welfare in English, but not really in its truest sense. It basically means human flourishing, prosperity, or living in your living in real existence. That is eudaimonia. Now let's ask ourselves a question, that are we living our lives in our true sense when we are constantly busy conforming to gender rules or gender laws, or as Judith Butler says, the performativity of gender? when a gender when gender roles are so rigid and unjust for women, it would be naive to think that all men find it extremely fulfilling and redemptive and appreciate the patriarchal entitlement. That's not the case. The internalization of patriarchal idealism has also confined a man's existential boundaries. Therefore, it needs to be, and it really needs to be dismantled collectively in the society to achieve a state of eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is something where human beings have flourished or reached their fullest potential. But unfortunately, because of gender laws, because of so many restrictions for gender in the society, people are not actually experiencing their potential in its true sense. We are only doing what society asks us to do, and that is very problematic. The gender as a concept itself is very problematic because there is no proof who started gender, why is it working, and gender has nothing to do with our sex, right? So why so much of debate, why so much of problems related to gender, which is a man-made concept or which is socially constructed. Now, our second step to achieve gender neutrality would be allowing men to embrace their feminine side. So, number one, um, for women, try to embrace your feminine qualities and be proud to show your feminine attributes or traits. Second step would be allow men to embrace their feminine side, or allow men to be proud of their femininity. Now, toxic masculinity is always promoted in our society. Um, so, what are the toxic masculinity traits? A man cannot suppress emotions or make people comfortable. At the same time, a man cannot be very emotional outside, or a man has to maintain an appearance of hardness. Same way, toxic masculinity also says a man must show violence as an indicator of power. And that's why we see domestic violence, the movie Kabir Singh, live example, um, being so popular and being so successful because time and again toxic masculinity is promoted in our society, that to be a man you have to have these qualities or you are not a man. A man's this is also very suffocating for men. I might being a feminist, it is difficult to acknowledge the problems of men, but at the same time we cannot negate that fact. A man's mistreatment can easily be gauged from the careless attitude of society towards their mental health or physical safety, primarily of boys, not men. I have also seen my young cousin petrified and mortified when he broke his leg due to such patriarchal rules. So there was a time when I was in class 10, and I believe, um, yes, so my cousins had come to play with me on a Sunday, and as usual, the girls were instructed to stay indoors, and boys were instructed to play outside or to go outside and play cricket in the nearby playground, I believe. My cousin brother, around 7 years old that time, came back wounded and unable to talk, completely unable to talk. So he came to us trembling, shivering with pain, trying hard not to cry at all. His eyes were sucked out, and he was just standing with a faint smile, and his legs bled. While I stood there and questioned the entire male entitlement, the reason why he was so ashamed to cry was because his mother told him that men do not cry, and if you want to grow up as a man, like a father, stop crying on silly things. And he did not cry from that time till, I believe, class 12. He still believed that to be a man, you cannot cry. And imagine how toxic that is for a child. So his legs bled badly. And, and I was constantly questioning that, is this entitlement where you are forced to be someone you are not just to be validated by others to be a man? Or why is there a need for such entitlement where you're constantly being crippled by suppressing your emotions? um, Definitely I was young, but I was not naive, so I started questioning all of these, and that grew my interest for gender studies. So this, I also did a research paper on vulnerability of men. So the concerns about the vulnerability of men, particularly boys, are barely seen among parents in general or individuals in particular. How many times have we seen that boys are being emotionally neglected because one needs to man up to be worthy in the society, or you got to be a man, you cannot cry. So these kind of labels, these kind of images which are produced by the society are extremely toxic and distressing for young boys. Ever thought, what are we doing to such innocent lives, making them believe that self expression is an attack on their gender? If you cry or if you are too emotional, you are no longer a man. Imagine what happens to a young child when these kind of messages are propagated to him. Now, Gloria Jean Watkins, or Bell Hooks as her pen name, in her famous book said The Will to Change Men, Masculinity, and Love. In her famous book, she said a line which is very beautiful, where she says that learning to wear a mask, and mask equals to masculinity, because the word mask is already there in masculinity, is the first lesson in patriarchal masculinity that a boy learns. So, how to cover yourself, how to be fake, is the first thing a boy learns in our society, in a patriarchal society. He learns that his core feelings cannot be expressed if they do not conform to the acceptable behavior which sexism defines as male. So the checklists that are there to be a man, you have to be rough and tough, you have to be macho, you have to be violent, you have to be slightly toxic, and all of these things, if you do not conform to those, then you are no longer a man. And imagine how problematic that is. And as we evolve as a society, now it's 2021, if we carry on with the same ideology, if we carry on with the same thought process, then our society is really in a wrong place. Now, standardized images are constantly produced and reproduced in our society, whereby one has to earn and take care of the family. Mind you, if you're a man and if you say, I want to be a house husband and I want my wife to earn money for the family, I will take care of the entire household. Just see how you will be criticized in the society. Same way, if you say that, okay, I have worked really hard in my life to earn money, but now I want to cover my dark circles, I want to look nice. But if you go to a cosmetic store, when you are going to buy some cosmetics or just highlighter to, or a concealer to, conceal your dark circles, or just to conceal your pimples, see how people look at you. You will no longer be a man in the eyes of society, just because you wanted to hide your dark circles, as if um, men are naturally beautiful and women have to do a lot of makeup. So these kind of concepts or these kind of ideas are extremely problematic even for men, because if you're a man and if you do not conform to these rules, if you want to do makeup or if you want to take care of the house or be a house husband, just see how you will be ostracized by the society. So this is where problem lies. It is not only about women suffering, it is about men suffering by the same patriarchal society. Now, if you are you will no longer be called a man if you cannot cry, if you want to cry in public, or you cannot be called a man if you're not macho or if you're not physically strong, because manhood is all about being physically strong, as if men are not human beings or normal human beings. Men are giants, or men are Goliaths who are born physically strong. Now, the problem is, while few men enjoy this entitlement, enjoy this power and position, many men, and I have witnessed it in my own life, that many men get extremely suffocated, get extremely distressed to conform to those checklists. Now, what about the men who want to be expressive? What about the men who want to pursue art? What about the men who love doing domestic chores? There is no place in the society for them. Or where what do we do with the men who do not project any toxic masculinity attributes? What do we do with them? Any idea? Yes, so we feminize them by calling them feminine names. Yeah. So as if that's an insult. So we feminize boys because they show feminine qualities, as if they are no longer boys or they are no longer men just because they are emotional or just because they do not conform to toxic masculinity checklists. The feminization of alternative masculinity, as you can see in the slide, the society calls boys who are slightly different from what the society defines as man or defines as manhood. The boys who are slightly different are often termed as sissy boys, as if it is a bad thing to be little feminine, or is it a bad thing um, to embrace your feminine side? Same way, if you are into fashion, if you are into your appearance and everything, again, in a mainstream society, you will be criticized real bad, because that is not something a man should do. But who has actually made these rules? That is something we must ask people. Now, this feminization of alternative masculinity has caused more suicide rates in workspace than work pressure. And mind you, this is true. And when I was doing my researches on psychology, I understood how actually low self esteem and feminization of alternative masculinities um, causes a man to doubt his or her existence, or causes a man to doubt his or her gender. And this is really wrong, because um, you are making a person conform to the rules which a man does not want to, and you're forcing that person. And if that person does not want to conform, we give them derogatory names, and derogatory names which are actually resonating with females, as if being called feminine is an abuse, or being called feminine is a threat. So this is something which we need to change, and only together we can do it. So when girls embrace their femininity and boys respect their feminine side, only then a change will come in the society. So my argument is, let the men and women be together to fight patriarchy in order to experience eudaimonia, or in order to um, achieve your fullest potential, or in order to achieve great heights. Let's destroy all the narratives or of being tomboys or sissy boys. Like, it's a shame. You can be a man and be absolutely feminine. You can be a woman and be absolutely masculine, because masculinity and femininity are social constructs, right? And woman and man is a biological thing. So we can interchange these concepts. It is not like if you're a man, you have to be masculine. If you're a woman, you have to be feminine. Now, my argument is basically, patriarchy suffocates all equally. If not equally, then definitely all. Of course, women more, because it is all about male dominance, but male men also are not really able to, escape this entire trap. Coming to gender neutrality, we must understand that gender as a socio-cultural construct and ideology. We are born as a man or a woman, determined by our biological organ, which is called sex. Now, so our biological organ can either be a vagina or a penis. So boy, man, or woman. That is done, our sex. Now, when we are talking about gender, how man should behave, what a woman must do, these are concepts created by the society. That is gender, because gender rules are created by society. So if you are born with a vagina, these are the things you must do. If you're born with a penis, these are the things you must do. So it's a no-brainer that these roles can be changed, challenged, and criticized from time to time, because it's created by the society, and society can be questioned. Now, patriarchy as an ideology believes in male dominance or male power, whereas feminism as an ideology believes in equality of all genders. Mind you, feminism is not opposite of patriarchy. Opposite of patriarchy would be matriarchy, female dominance, where you will see Kerala, in Kerala and Meghalaya, people have matriarchal societies where um, inheritance is done from women to women, and a woman rules the entire household, which is very contrary to patriarchal societies. But what we are talking about is feminism. Feminism has nothing to do with patriarchy or matriarchy. Feminism does not demand female rule over everyone, or female entitlements. We do not demand that. What we are asking here is an equal space for all genders, or belief in equality. Now, the problem started when I read Western feminist theories, which were based on a man snatching away your rights, or um, a man will snatch away your rights and take it back from them unanimously, or a man is responsible for a woman's misery. But here in India, while I was doing gender studies and I was reading up a lot on gender, I understood that I saw women suppressing each other more than men suppressing women. And at the same time, I have seen women in the family repress each other's rights by empowering the boys and sons in the family. They are actively supporting the patriarchal system by being the torch bearers. We often see women degrading other women or slut shaming other women because the society has told us that two women can never be good friends, by inventing terminologies like catfight, which I must say is also a product of language politics, but that is another story altogether. So these are also socio-cultural constructs. And now we must try to fight patriarchy. Not, it is not a men-woman fight. It is humanity versus patriarchy as an ideology. Because patriarchy traps everyone. I have seen extremely patriarchal women who believe in male entitlement, who believe that women cannot do anything else in the family other than domestic chores. And at the same time, I have met highly feminist men who believe in women rights or who believe in women empowerment. So these are ideologies. You do not have to be a man or a woman to succumb to patriarchy, or to succumb to feminism or believe in feminism. It is an ideology and anybody can imbibe it. So be a proud feminist if you're a man, and if you are a woman, try to not um, appreciate or try not to entertain patriarchy, because it is putting other women also down. Now, so to engineer absolute gender neutrality, we must embrace our femininity. Given an equal space to men to embrace their femininity and not ostracize them or criticize them for being in touch with their feminine side, uplift each other as humans and not predators, and also women must empower each other and not pull each other down. Same way, um, if a society is based on power struggles, then it can never fully develop. If a woman is fighting with another woman, if there is a conflict between men and women, then our society or even an organization can never fully develop. A society's basic unit is family, and if that family um, is based on a dominator module or a dominator power, it will only promote violence, because there will always be a conflict where one person is trying to dominate others. If there is a patriarchal head will dominate, or if there is woman head, that then that person would dominate. But the entire power struggle of dominance never works when you want to be truly happy in our society, because dominance only promotes violence. And how mortifying it is to think that we are living in a society where there is a huge gap in gender understanding and awareness. Men do not understand women, women do not understand men properly, which is extremely problematic because we are living together, we are coexisting. So it is important that we spread awareness of gender and not sex, because sex is just man and woman, binaries. But gender is a huge, vast concept which requires a lot of attention. If we see gender as binaries, or if we polarize people based on their sexual organ, that is vagina or penis, we will never be able to eliminate the inherent biases in the society. Try viewing people as humans with dominant masculine traits, or feminine traits or qualities. The world will actually be a better place. Feminism is also not about establishing female dominance, it is all about um, being a non-conformist, or being someone who defies the gender laws of society. I would reiterate that challenging all patriarchal establishments in your own little ways will make your workspace and your society a much better place to exist. To conclude, I would quote um, a poem, The City by Kawaki. So he says, "You won't find a new country, won't find another shore. The city will always pursue you. You'll walk the same streets, grow old in the same neighborhood, turn gray in these same houses. You'll always end up in the city." Which basically means no matter which company you work for or where you go, the people will remain the same. The core of people, the thought process of people will remain the same. Nothing matters, nothing else matters, because it is not the laws or the geography or the resources um, which makes life easy, but it is the people and the thought process of people which determines your quality of life, right? So if you need a change, try changing the mentality of society. It will not work if you change your job, or it will not work even if you change your country, because thought process remains the same. So hope today's session made you a little aware about the problems of gendering individuals and the problems of actually seeing everything through a gender lens or binary. Any questions? So with this, we come to the end of the session. If anybody wants to address to any questions or any doubts, if you want to discuss anything regarding gender, you can drop a text.
You will shall wait for about 10-15 seconds if there are any questions. All right, then does not look like there are any more coming in. So thank you so much, Ritika. That's been amazing. Thank you for going us through a very refreshing session out there, explaining all aspects and letting us go through, opening our eyes and letting us know that it is okay to be yourself without the barriers of feminism or masculinity. Uh, Thank you so much. I'd like to talk about tomorrow's session that's at the same time. This is a shift towards the blockchain, Bitcoin, and beyond. This is a webinar that is introducing the world of blockchain, Bitcoin, and its implications on our technical, socio-economical, and political landscapes. It is going to be hosted by Shrikant Alva, who is a full stack developer and blockchain trainer himself. So, thank you so much, Ritika. Once again, we hope to see you once more on Verzeo, and we hope to be associated sometime. Thank you so much, and
Thank you, Pradeep, for having me over, and I would like to thank all my audience for lending me their ears, and thank you for having such a beautiful topic to talk about.
thank you so much, and thank you everyone for attending.